I would like to welcome the Minister and her department and the officials that are here to hear our questions. I have received an apology from General Reddy, but then subsequently could make it. So thank you very much, General Reddy. I have received an apology from Member Gointsu. Member Lecker will stand in as an alternate from the African National Congress. Just reading that in for the record. I just want to check whether that is correct. Maybe perhaps if the procedural officer can just confirm that that is correct.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon to members, or good morning to members and officials. Yes, that is correct, Chairperson. And there are no further apologies that were rendered.
So, colleagues, the purpose of the meeting is to consider the vote number 4 of the appropriations budget. I want to welcome the Minister and the various members of a team who's going to be with us to assist us in understanding the vote while we consider it. I'm going to allow for the Minister and the HOD to make some introductory remarks. Colleagues, if I can ask everyone to keep your comments and your questions throughout the meeting, both on the side of the department as well as members, to keep it to the point. The more disciplined we are, the more time we have to consider the matters, discuss the matters. So over to the Minister for some introductory remarks.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to everyone, to the Standing Committee as well as our department. I don't have any introductory remarks this morning. I will hand over immediately to you, Chair, to ask HOD for some remarks. Thank you so much.
HOD, if it's possible for you to make some remarks.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Good morning, colleagues. Chairperson, Minister and I caucused this morning, and she said she left no introductory remarks. And I said, Minister, similarly, I do think to expedite the process, I'll hand straight over to our CFO, because he's the person that does the responses to the adjustments estimate. Suffice to say, there were no major injections into this department, but we are open to any questions that the members wish to ask based on the submissions that have been made. So I'm not going to hand over to the CFO. I'll hand it back to you for any comments and questions from you so that we can expedite the process. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, then let's get into the vote itself. If you can flight it, Mr. Matthews, if you can flight the vote for us. And what I've done with the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sports, we dealt with it in sections. We looked at the first part of the vote up until expenditure trends. So I'm going to give each member the opportunity to pose questions, and then after we will have follow-up questions as well. Member Boyson, I see you.
Chairperson, this is tongue-in-cheek. Are you sure that we are all in the meeting?
We are quorate. We will, of course, members that are running late must join us, but we are quorate, and perhaps, and thank you for pointing that out, let's just put it on the record as well, that we are quorate and can proceed with the meeting. So colleagues, if I can ask, if you can just scroll through it just as a refresher. You will recall that we take the approach in this committee that we assume that everyone has read the documents in front of us, but perhaps just to help orientate our members, if we can just scroll through that first section up until the expenditure trends. That would be pages 53 to 60. Right, colleagues, if I can ask members to raise their questions, please indicate as much as possible the page number that you are referring to as well, to enable the department to answer questions more effectively. But let's take hands on the vote. Questions or comments from the committee members? I can ask not everyone at once. Right. I don't see any hands. Let's go to the second section of the vote. From expenditure trends onwards, that would be
My hand is
pages.
up, Chair.
Oh, I didn't see you. My apologies. Member Lekker.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, everybody. Chair, I'm gonna ask questions on page 54, but maybe let me first make comments on the opening remarks that the ANC welcomes the increased budget for the department, especially when it comes at this very same time that the police minister has made the announcement on the crime statistics showing a decrease in murder, sexual offences for the quarter. However, we should note that, Chair, the crimes continue and they concentrate in the poor working class communities, where the majority is of Black population. And also, I just want to check that how does this budget respond to this ongoing challenge, more especially addressing the root causes of crime, focuses on resources to prevent crime in these vulnerable communities. So as I am raising this, Chair, I want to go to page 54, table 4.1. The point of reference would be the compensation of employees. I want to understand and ask, Chair, what is the number of vacancies that have been affected by the budget cuts? And are there any LEAP officers that are affected by these cuts? Again, Chair, on page 54, on the same table 4.1, under goods and services, Chair, I want to understand how much of the goods and services budget has been allocated to fund the technologies such as the CCTVs, short spotter, and the eye in the sky. But more precisely, Chair, I want to understand again, who owns these technologies and how much has been spent on them on this year. Additionally, we've been informed that all CCTV cameras in Khayelitsha, not all, but some are not working. I'm sure you would in an oversight. And how is the department through this budget addressing this challenge in ensuring the functionality of this critical surveillance system, especially in the light that some of the cuts are as a result of monies that are sometimes given to municipalities. Then, Chair, on page 55, sub-program 1.2, on the office of the HOD, I want to ask, what is the number of posts that were not filled in the HOD's office? And were these posts advertised? If so, when and what is causing the delays in filling them? As I move on, Chair, because I'm sure I'm the only person who has asked questions, I want to move on, Chair, and go to page 56. On page 56, sub-program 3.1, on realignment I want to check, Chairperson, can we get more details of the sleep service centers funding? And maybe because there's a lot of questions that I've asked, may I ask your indulgence to pause, wait for responses and continue?
Member, you're welcome to ask your other questions as well for this section. I will allow for follow-up questions. So you're welcome to ask your other questions now as well. And there will be a round of follow-ups afterwards if some of the answers are not clear.
Oh, okay. Thank
So
you.
Please proceed with the rest of your questions.
Okay. Thank you, my Honorable Chairperson. And then, Chair, coupled to that question on page 56, the next one would be, why was the 12.7 million allocated, not spent? And moving to page 57, Chair, on sub-program 4.3, the underspending mainly due to vacant posts not filled as anticipated. I'm sure you would recall the security advisory service in that sub-program. On this one page, Chair, there's a deep concern over the 4 million originally earmarked for filling vacancies, prioritized and spent on computer equipment. Could the department provide a justification for this decision? Secondly, this appears to be a recurring issue across departments every year. Funds are allocated for compensation of employees, remain unspent, and are subsequently reprioritized for less critical items such as computer equipment. Could the CFO explain this pattern that persists? Is this an intentional practice? And if so, what steps are being taken to address this? Then as I move, Chair, to page 62, the details of revenue.
We will get to page 62 okay. Just now.
All right.
So it's up to page 60.
Let me pause there, Chair.
That's 100%. Then any other questions from any other members? Over to the department and the minister.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can go.
Thank you, HOD. I just want to answer the one question about the HOD. Thank you, Member Lekker, for the question. The post was advertised. It closed on the 11th of November, and I've seen the shortlisting just yesterday. And then we will commence with the interviews in January, after the 6th of January, in that week, if everyone can be available and everything goes well. So thank you so much. Thank you, HOD.
Over to you, HOD.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Minister. Chair, can I just say I really appreciate the questions of the member and the fact that she's raising such pertinent questions. And I'd like to respond to those, and I'm also going to ask the CFO to respond to some of these questions. So firstly, the increase in the budget, and the question is, how do we address this? Now, does this impact the root causes? Chair, we have what we call within our province an integrated violence prevention and community safety platform or forum, the Comm, and we also have submitted our inputs for next year's budget in an integrated fashion. So from a violence prevention perspective, we're working very integrated. But the members specifically speak to the areas such as Kailicha and the areas where it's affected. What we can confirm, though, is that our LEAP areas are generally focused on 6 specific areas, and it's focused on those high-risk areas where we have the challenges. So whatever we do, we're scrumming behind that high-risk areas and making sure that all our resources, or the bulk of our resources, go into those areas. We do have a responsibility, though, to the rest of the province, but we are focusing on that. So our LEAP areas are Delft, Khayelitsha, Gugulethu, Nanga, and for LIP East we've added, and I just need to get the sixth one, and I'll just ask one of the members one of my colleagues to assist me with the sixth one. The budget cuts, the impact on the staff vacancies. So the budget cuts are not necessarily, and I need to make a broad statement here because it will cover the members' questions pertaining to the staff vacancies going forward. The challenge that we're experiencing at the moment is that we need to get approval from the Department of the Premier to fill posts. And we've gone through a process to draft an extensive submission to fill 35 posts. However, only 13 posts were approved because of the fact that some of those posts were not job evaluated. So we're in the process of sending it, or working with OD to get the post jobs evaluated, and also some of those that have indeed been job evaluated, we're referring that back to the Department of the Premier. But that is unfortunately the situation. So as you said, that it seems like a recurring theme. In this case, we have funding for filling of posts, but we are not allowed to fill the post unless it's properly evaluated, job evaluated over the past 5 years. So that will also address the issue of the comments that you've made, Member Lekker, right at the end. So the budget used for CCTV, Eye in the Sky, and Such Spotter. So whilst the province has got its own CCTV cameras, it's focusing mainly on government buildings. So we only focus our CCTV cameras on government buildings. The CCTV cameras that you're referring to are the City of Cape Town's cameras. Those are the CCTV, Eye in the Sky, and also Such Spotter. Those are not Western Cape government technologies. Those are the City of Cape Town, so we cannot comment on that. The ownership is, as you ask who owns it, the ownership is with the City of Cape Town, not with the Western Cape government. And that links also to your question that you asked about the broken cameras in Khayelitsha. What we have also, though, undertake within the collaboration agreement between SAPS, the city, and the Western Cape government is the technology work stream, which is one of the 9 work streams. One of the first focus areas that they're dealing with is looking at developing an inventory of all the cameras within the city, and then making sure that we have an idea of which of these need to be fixed, which can be relocated if possible, and then also where do we require additional cameras, where are the blind spots. So that is a project that we're busy with in terms of the collaboration agreement. And if there's faulty cameras that's not working, it will be picked up and will be addressed through this work stream. So as it relates to the realignment of the LEAP centers, because we have reduced the number of LEAP areas from 13 to 6, some of the venues or the spaces that we've identified to refurbish and to reconfigure for those LEAP stations is not further required. So we're not going to refurbish venues or sites that we've identified for LEAP stations when we're not going to have LEAP stations anymore. And that is why that funding became available. And that is why the money is not being spent. The underspending and the justification for not filling of the posts, I think I've covered that. We really want to fill the posts, member. We have a big challenge with our staff being stressed and taking into account the environment that we're working with communities, we're working with our own staff in terms of the security, the occupational health and safety matters we're dealing with. We really need our staff to be appointed. So the lag in appointing people is definitely not in the part of the department or any of the managers in the department of the police oversight and community safety. Unfortunately, processes that we need to go through in order for us to ensure that we can fill the posts in a compliant way. We do not want to be non-compliant within the department. Minister covered the issue of the HOD and the posts, the vacancies in the HOD post. There's 2 vacancies. The minister covered the head of department, but there's also a deputy director's post vacant within the department which is the head of office of the HOD. And member, Liquor, you can understand that I do not want to fill that post because I know I'm not going to be the permanent head of department. I think it's best if we first appoint the head of department and allow the head of department to fill his head of office post. So that is why I've not moved towards filling that post at this stage. Chairperson, I've tried to cover all of the questions according to my notes. I just want to check with the chief if you want to add anything. Muhammad?
Thank you, HOD, and through yourself, Chairperson, as well as giving greetings of good morning to yourself and all members. I think that it's largely been covered by Minister and HOD, but maybe just in addition, what I'd like to say with regards to the COE underspend specifically, I think that remember we have as a department registered with Provincial Treasury for the reasons as mentioned by the HOD that we would not spend about 11.5 million within the department towards the end of, as we move towards the end of year. And those are for challenges specifically related to the recruitment process, as mentioned by HOD. But in that underspend identification, we've reprioritized that funding, or we've asked Treasury to reprioritize it towards additional operational expenses that we have now given extra money to, things like the neighborhood watches, for not just additional equipment, but also for projects that they'd like to run. As we move, we are already in the 16 days of activism period, but also towards the safer festive season projects. So we are making additional funding available to neighborhood watches and CPFs in that regard. And we are also allowing our staff to be more out during this festive period to coordinate projects that are being run by the communities. And in that way, we've given additional funding towards things like our travel and accommodation, as well as our spend on the GG vehicles, so that they can be out there coordinating the projects with communities where it is required. But I think that in reprioritizing that underspend, which would have been forfeited to Provincial Treasury had we not reprioritized it in the manner that we did, I think that we have, as a department now, given additional to community-related events and entities, so that they can, with ease, run projects in their respective areas and do a safer festive season as a whole. I maybe just wanted to say that out of that funding also, we are allocating additional funding to cameras, while HOD has mentioned that we're doing an inventory of all cameras across SAPS, provincial government, as well as city. We are looking at two-way, which is inward and outward facing cameras. We've allocated just over 3.5 million towards that project also, which is equipment that we're looking to buy then before the end of this financial year. Thank you very much, Chair.
Colleagues, I'm going to allow for a round of follow-up questions based on the responses that we received. Can I have hands of anyone who wants to do follow-up responses? I have Member van Minnen. Any other hands? Member Lekker. Member van Minnen, please proceed.
Thank you very much. I try not to ask questions stemming out of responses because it just becomes an endless bit of string. But I do just want to know, in terms of the acting HOD and vacancies that are not being filled because he is the acting HOD, when is one likely to see the permanent HOD appointed, so that we can get some kind of idea as to when those, sort of knock-on vacancies will be filled? Thank you.
Member Lekker.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Chair, I want to start on the last response from the CFO, if I'm correct. He says there's going to be additional allocation to cameras, which are going to be bought before the end of the financial year. Now, I want to ask, are these cameras meant for government departments, or he's responding to my initial question about the location of the cameras in the areas like Bontivale, Elsa's Rivier, and your Bishop Levis, including Nyanga and other areas. Two, Chair, I've got to follow up, particularly on the response that says the CCTV cameras outside of government departments are owned by the city of Cape Town. I want to understand, does the Provincial Department of Police Oversight render any finances to the city of Cape Town municipalities? And if so, how does the city then report on money spent, including progress thereof? Because if there's an investment made, obviously one must follow after the investment. Then 3, Chair, my follow-up again would be on the response that says, or an admission from the HOD that says staff members are overworked. I think he was mentioning this in response to the posts that are advertised and the delays thereof that are caused as a result of awaiting for a permission on the approval of posts, because it says the Premier must give approval for the filling of vacancies. So we're not allowed unless the job is evaluated. And I want to understand, whilst there's a process of evaluating those jobs, what then becomes the immediate responsibility of the employer in alleviating the pressures that are put on the employees? Then lastly, Chair, the integrated violence prevention perspective. I want to understand what then becomes the role of the provincial government in that agreement. What is it that is expected out of the provincial government? And really, for me, I want to be honest. Besides the fact that posts must be evaluated, I need to really get to the real reasons. Once the post is evaluated and it is found to be redundant, is that the only reason that would make the positions not to be filled timeously? I really need to get to understand those issues. And as Member Van Minen has already said, about the position in the office of the HOD, when are we expected to fill that particular position of the HOD? Thank you.
If I can ask the department and the minister to respond, please.
Yeah. I thought the minister in the opening remarks spoke about the HOD post that she, or in the first response to the questions, she indicated that the HOD post that she has seen the shortlist and that the interviews will be held early in January. I thought that was made clear. So I don't think I need to comment on that. The cameras that the CFO they refer to, Chairperson and Member Lekker, that is Western Cape Government facility CCTV cameras, and it did not respond to your, as you said, did it respond to your question on the cameras that's required in Bontivale? No, it does not respond to those questions. Those are the cameras that will be, that the SAPs, not SAPs, the City of Cape Town will be installing and that they manage. And do we fund any programs of the City of Cape Town? And the LEAP program is arguably the biggest program that we funded. And at the initial engagement with the Standing Committee Chairperson, I've highlighted what are the funds that we allocate to the LEAP program. It's also in the budget book. We had that discussion. And because it's a transfer payment, normal rules of managing transfer payments do apply. So there's a requirement on the city to report us on a monthly basis they need to certify that the funds that we've allocated has been used for the purpose for which it is intended. They need to give us a report of all the funding. So that process happened because those are legislated and prescribed processes as it relates to funding that we transfer. Chair, the issue of how do we support our staff? Now, this is an issue that's very important to me, the fact that we have staff that's overburdened because in some areas we cannot fill posts, and that's why there's an urgency on our part to fill posts. And it's important to understand that we look at the workload and we reallocate and we reassign some work, but we do it to the best of our abilities and without dropping the ball, because there are certain commitments that we've made in our annual performance plan that we have to deliver. And then there's additional requirements that comes up during the course of the year. We try to manage that as best as possible and also making sure that we provide the assistance to our staff members. And as I said, we're aware of the fact that many of our staff members are overburdened, and that's why the whole issue of filling of posts is such a critical one for us. And then, Chair, the role of the provincial government in this integrated approach with the City of Cape Town and SAPS, we are a key partner with them in all of the work streams. So we have 9 work streams, and I will do a presentation to the Standing Committee at some stage, because I think it's important that you understand the collaboration agreement and what we're doing. But we essentially have 9 work streams, and our role is to coordinate everything within those work streams. We also contribute in various ways from the communications perspective. We are strong on communications, so that will be in the communications work stream, we'll play a significant role. In the technology work stream, our province has got huge technology capabilities, and also the city, SAPS perhaps lesser, and that is where we also will be bringing our part. And then also in the research and development. So there's different work streams where we participate in and where we are co-leads and we contribute to based on the strengths that we have. So each party to that agreement will have different strengths, and in each one of those there'll be different contributions by the various teams. So for example, in the ops section, that is predominantly city and SAPS. We do not have safety operations that we participate in outside. So that is where city and SAPS and then also traffic police will play a role. But we also bring in other departments as and where needed into that collaboration agreement. Chair, I think I've covered the questions by the members.
Right, colleagues, we can now proceed to pages 61 to pages 68. I'm going to follow the same process. Any hands for any comments on the last section of the vote? If you can just scroll through, I seem to help orientate members. I'll come to you now, Member Lekker. There we go. Member Lekker and then Member van Minnen.
Thank you, Chair. My question would be on page 62. And I ask Chair, in terms of the details of revenue source, the provincial equitable share is listed there. Is my understanding correct, Chair, that the department has received 4.9 million from the Provincial Revenue Fund to offset the decrease in the provincial equitable share? And if so, the ANC commends the department for taking the appropriate action. However, Chair, I want to ask, could the department clarify the circumstances under which the provincial revenue fund is utilized to make sure that such allocations to departments are proper? Then on page 66, Chair, table 4.9.2 on safety promotion. Why is the budget for safety promotion decreased? On page 67, table 4.9.3, under the Western Cape Police Ombudsman, I ask again there, why is the budget for the police ombudsman decreased? Chair, thank you, Chair.
Member van Minnen.
Thank you very much. On page 61, I'd like to get some more information on the expanded EPWP program, exactly what that involves, as well as the kind of numbers that one is looking at there in terms of the job opportunities. Thank you.
Don't see any other hands. Over to the Minister and the department.
If I may, can I ask the CFO to respond to these questions, because these are more the technical ones in this space? Mohammed?
Thank you, HOD. So in the response to Member Lacker's questions, both of the decreases in the Ombudsman as well as safety promotion budget was as a result of COE. And that brings us back to the discussion on the filling of posts. So they were both related then to vacancies, which we are projecting to be either filled later in the year or in the new financial year, and that's why those budgets were reduced. In terms of the revenue source, which is revenue fund versus the provincial equitable share, these are mainly finance mechanisms used by provincial treasury from where they source the funding to allocate the budget to departments. The decision to use from various, let's say, pockets of funding controlled by provincial treasury is done in conjunction with departments, in conjunction with national treasury, and is also discussed at the HOD mancos with DD and Premier and the like. So it's really just a financing tool. And as you can see, it takes it from the one, but then it gives it takes it away from the equitable share, and then it gives it from the revenue fund. So it's really just a balancing entry in terms of the way that the allocation is the department's allocation is funded. I've spoken about the decreases for Ombudsman as well as for SPP. And then the last question on EPWP, we are looking at the equivalent of between 800 and 1,000 beneficiary payments on a monthly basis. It fluctuates dependent on individuals coming into the program and those leaving. So those are the almost full-time equivalents, if you could put it in that speak, that's being maintained under that program. Yeah, it's being managed. The actual payments is being managed by an outside service provider to the department. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, Any follow-up questions? If I can have hands for follow-up questions. I do not see any hands.
Chair,
Member Lekker?
you will forgive me. I so much wanted to raise my hand, but I was very slow in reacting.
That's fine. You have a follow-up, Member Lekker?
Yes, Chair, I'm trying to understand, Chairperson. There's a decrease in the budget because of the filling of vacancies, of which some of these vacancies will be filled towards the end of the financial year. I'm just trying to sum up the response. Now, I want to check if the vacancies are not filled, does that warrant the Treasury not to give the departments the sufficient amount of money? Because I'm looking at a situation where the vacancy gets to be filled, or there is an itch for the vacancy to be filled as early as February next year. What then is going to happen whilst the budget has been decreased? I want to understand. Maybe I did not get it correctly. Can the CFO speak on layman's terms, because I really want to understand this concept. Thank you.
Can I just, if you can maybe just spell it out for us as the committee, I think the key thing is to understand the impact and what happens in that period of the vacancies. If you can just spell it out for us, it would be appreciated. So over to the department. HOD, I take it the CFO will be responding.
Correct, Chairperson.
Thank you once again, HOD and Chairperson. And in simple terms, Member Lekker, what's happening is that there's a reprioritization of funds within the department. And what happens in this instance, where we anticipate that not as much posts are going to be filled as what we expected at the start of financial year during the course of this period, is that we transfer that money to goods and services or capital. In that way, we reprioritize the projected underspend relating to salaries, so that the department can make better use of that funding with its stakeholders or for its operations. But this is a once-off reset during the course of last year. Okay, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
I can
apologies. Okay, thank you. So it's a once-off mid-year reset or reprioritization of departmental funding. What happens when the posts are filled? Remember, in the new financial year, we get an allocation. So this mid-year reprioritization is a temporary one. It does not permanently affect the salary budget of the department, because it almost resets to its original level, or to what the need is for the new financial year, when we get our new allocation in March, April of next calendar year. So this is practically only telling Provincial Treasury that we are looking to underspend our salaries by 11 million towards the end of the year. As a projection, we want to please use that funding for other priorities that we have identified within the department. Next year, when you give us our salary allocation, please reset that budget then to what our need is for that year, which includes then the anticipated filling posts of the vacancies, as well as those that are permanently already on the establishment for the new financial year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, I believe we got a comprehensive breakdown there. Are there any last comments before we proceed with the committee's business? Are there any further comments from the Minister and the HOD?
Chairperson, I just want to say thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be in front of the Standing Committee, and thank you to our department for all the hard work in this difficult time. And I'm looking forward to see you next week in the House.
I don't see any other comments.
Chairperson,
HOD?
just from my side, thank you first and foremost to the committee. I know it's a new committee, but we've thoroughly been, won't say we've enjoyed the discussion, but it was really meaningful engagement that really make us step up our game. So thank to the committee and the team members. To our Minister, thank you so much. Our Minister is a very busy lady, but whenever we need her, she's available, Chairperson. That's one thing that I can say. Minister, thanks for your support. To myself and the rest of the department, and to the department's team members, thanks so much for your hard work in getting us to this point. And I'm hoping, Chairperson, the members and this team, that they'll be able to take a break over the festive season and we come back fresh next year. So thanks so much to you, Chairperson, for your leadership also. Do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Also, you will notice that this is a committee that is very passionate about changing the lives and the security situation, the safety situation for our communities. Thank you very much for the interaction. We will be proceeding with the rest of the committee work. You're more than welcome to attend, but you are excused. I know you are busy. So thank you very much for your attendance and your responses. I just want to confirm from the procedural officer, I did not have any request for public inputs.
Thank you, Chairperson. There have been no requests for public input.
Colleagues, then just to make sure that it's read into the record, all the committee members are present except for Member Gwentsu, and Member Lekker is acting as his alternate. So hang on, I don't see Member Kasim. But I just want to do a quick roll call, especially if we go to a vote. It's myself there, it's Member Boyson, it's Member Van Minnen, it's Member Kaiser Philander, it's Member Stevens, it's Member Lekker. I just want to check whether there's any members that I'm missing.
Chair, Member Kasim is online.
Okay, Member Kasim is here. Okay, so then we are, the full committee is present. Colleagues, then if I can have we are here to now table the vote. Can I have a proposer to support the vote?
Chairperson,
Member Kaiser Philander.
I propose that we support the vote.
Can I have a seconder? I see Member Van Minnen. Member Van Minnen seconds. So colleagues, that's put in terms of Rule 88. Then in terms of Rule 90, are there any minority views, any members that are not supporting the vote? Member Lekker.
Thank you, Chair. The African National Congress, in line with Rule 90, wants not to support this budget, and we request that this position be duly recorded. I don't know if you would want me to give reasons to that.
Member Lekker, that I would assume is in the debate in the House, but you're welcome to comment if you want to, but it's obviously also for the debate in the House as well. So there's no pressure on you to record it. Let's put it that way. Member Kasim.
Thank you, Chairperson. Also for record purposes, the EFF does not support. We will give our, or rather state our reasons in the debate. Thank you, Chair.
So that's on record. Member Lekker. Is that a legacy hand?
It's a legacy hand, Chairperson.
Okay.
I wanted to lower it, but maybe I pressed on raise again. My sincere apologies.
No worries. We'll record in terms of Rule 90 the EFF that the EFF and the ANC do not support the vote. Can we, if Wasim, if you can just, yeah, there we go. I'm just going to read through it. The report of the Standing Committee on Police Oversight, Community Safety and Cultural Affairs and Sport on vote 4, Police Oversight and Community Safety in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill B2 2024, dated 28 November 2024, as follows. The Standing Committee on Police Oversight, Community Safety and Cultural Affairs and Sports, having deliberated on vote 4, Police Oversight and Community Safety in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill B2 2024, referred to the committee in accordance with Standing Rule 188, reports that it supports the vote. In terms of Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress and the Economic Freedom Fighters expressed their minority view to not support the vote. Colleagues, can I have a proposer for the report?
I'll propose.
Member Van Minnen proposes. Can I have a seconder for the report?
Second, Chair.
Member Kaiser Fernandez seconds. Then I would like to ask if are there any resolutions that the committee wants to propose? Member Lekker.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everybody, once again. Chair, my first proposal would be the presentation of the integrated violence prevention perspective. They made mention of the 9 work streams and. So I would like that. Maybe we put out a day, we invite them and they come and explain. To Chair, you know, I'm writing all over in this book of I want to understand in respect to the transfer payments that are done to municipalities. I want to make a request. The monthly reports that are presented to the department by the municipalities, can we get that also as the committee? Because I really want to follow the money. That's number 2. Then where's my number 3? I don't have, I've got those 2. Thank you, Chair.
You will recall that the 9 streams that Member Lekker is referring to was also one of the discussion points at the oversight visit at Khayelitsha Police Station. I would like to perhaps add to the proposed recommendations that the Ops Centre that deals with the tools of trade being made available by the City of Cape Town, amongst other things, cameras, that we also receive a report in terms of how that interaction takes place, that coordination takes place. I would like to add that to the resolutions. Colleagues, so there are 3 resolutions being proposed. Are we in agreement?
Yes, Chairperson, we are.
Member Boyson proposes agreement. Any seconder to Member Boyson?
I'll second.
Member Van Minnen seconds. Colleagues, so then there's some other housekeeping that we just need to look at as well. If I can ask Mr. Matthews, are there any minutes or any outstanding matters in that regard that we have to deal with?
Thank you, Chairperson. We dealt with it in the earlier session.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm. Colleagues, that brings us then to the end of the meeting. We will be seeing one another in the House, but again, I would like to thank all the members for your inputs, the value that you are adding in terms of your resolutions and proposals. And while we have, we have party political differences, one thing I do think we have in common is that we want things to work for the benefit of the people that we represent. So thank you very much for your time and for your punctuality as well. So have a good rest of the day, and those of you that still have other committees, good luck. We'll be seeing you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.